How to get 100% plus returns when buying your first property. And no, this isn't too good to be true. It's actually a technique that I personally used when I bought my first property, and something that you can still do today, and I'm going to talk you through how to do it. I'll also talk you through the advantages and disadvantages of this technique so you can see whether it's right for you. So what you can do, say if your salary is £30,000, lenders will typically lend you 5 to 5.5 times that. So in that scenario, they'll lend you £150,000. You'll typically only have to put 5% deposit, especially as a first-time buyer. So that's only £7,500 deposit. Obviously, you'll still have to pay legal fees and you'll have to pay any taxes that are due as well, but as a first-time buyer, they are minimal. With that budget of £150,000, what I would advise, you go buy something in a good area but the worst house. But as it's your first time property investing, probably want to buy something that doesn't need too much work. So you might need a bit of paint, maybe some new flooring put down, but you don't want to do anything too drastic because it's your first investment. And ideally, do the work yourself to keep the costs down. Then what you're also looking for is something with plenty of space, ideally lots of spare rooms, maybe a couple of extra rooms downstairs that could be used as rooms. And then what you want to be doing is renovating and refurbishing and then renting out each of the rooms individually with bills included. Now, you've got to be careful when doing this. You need approval from your lender through something called a consent to lease, and you want to keep outside of HMO regulation. So you do not want to be renting to 5 or more people sharing a house. So you want to keep under those limits, but what this should do for you is the rental income from the rooms that you're renting out will cover your mortgage and will cover the bills. So you're net zero, or if anything, net positive every month whilst living in the property for free. So over the last 10 years, property prices have gone up between 5 and 6% on average per year. So in that scenario, we've put a 5% deposit down, and now a year later, the property price has gone up by 5%. So we've doubled our money, making 100% return, and ideally spent zero or been cash flow positive every month because we've rent out the rooms. So that's how you can get away with getting 100% return on your first investment property. So whilst this technique has a lot of advantages, obviously it's a low barrier to entry because you don't need a large deposit to get into property in this manner. Also, if you work it well, you will have net cash flow positive every month and a place to live. Also, if you purchase the right property and the prices go up, you will get a very good return on your initial equity and investment into that property. Those are the advantages. Now, let's talk about some of the disadvantages and risks, right? So some of the main disadvantages are, whilst it's a good way to get onto the property ladder, it does mean that you own the property in your personal name, which means that long term, you'll incur income tax on the rental income. And there's also, you can't deduct mortgage interest relief from your rental income as well. So that will be a burden for you owning in your personal name. Now, if you're also looking at building a larger portfolio over time, something I had to do was transfer the ownership of that property from my personal name into a company name. At that point, it counts as an additional sale. So you will actually trigger CGT, capital gains tax, and you'll have to pay any purchasing costs against it, legal fees, stamp duty, etc. So they are some of the disadvantages of it. It does have those costs in the long term, but it is a great way to get you on the property ladder and earning income from it as well. Hopefully that was useful, and if you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out.